Hi BookTube, my name is Juan. I am just one reader. Welcome back to my channel. I am here to do another Friday Reads video talking about the book that I finished reading this week, what I am reading, and what I will be reading next week. So this week I finished Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. This is book one in the Farseer trilogy, which is the first in many series that make up the realm of the Elderlings, which is Robin Hobb's grand master work that is made up of many different series, trilogies, a quartet, and this is the first book in the first trilogy. So, to put it simply, this book follows the character of Fitz. When we first meet Fitz, he is a 5-year-old boy, and we know that he is a bastard child to one of the princes of this kingdom. This book is set in your typical fantasy, English, sort of medieval kind of setting. So, you know, a little bit like Game of Thrones, a little bit like that kind of setting. So there is a king, and the king has 3 sons who are the princes, and the eldest of those princes is the king in waiting. He's the heir to the throne. And we discover that Fitz, this child, is the illegitimate bastard son of this prince. The prince is shamed for having born an illegitimate son, and he is cast away. He abdicates the throne, his right to the throne, and he's banished from the kingdom. He's exiled. He goes away. Then the story centers around Fitz, and it's the story of his upbringing, his first years in this castle, in this kingdom, being a part of the court, being part of the royal family without really being part of the royal family. It's a very interesting character identity and character dynamic. That's all I'm going to say about the premise or the synopsis, because I really think this is a book that will greatly benefit from your ignorance. So if you don't know anything and you go in blindly, as I did, I think your experience will be rewarded. I gave this book 4 stars, almost 5 stars, because I really enjoyed many things. I think that the most brilliant aspects of this book are, firstly, Robin Hobb's writing style. It's exactly right. I have heard that in some other books, in some later installments in the series, Robin Hobb tends to ramble quite a bit and be very repetitive, but here I didn't see that. Here I found her writing to be very beautiful, very accessible, incredibly warm and enveloping, and I just found myself completely captivated when I was reading this book. I felt transported. I felt welcome into this part, into this universe. So I really loved the writing. It was beautiful without being obnoxious or pretentious. It was just perfect. She has a cadence or a melody to her writing that I found so warm and so rich and textured and just wonderful to inhabit. The second thing that I love about this book, and this is the reason why I really want to start book 2 in the series, is the characters. The character work is incredible here. We have many different characters, including our protagonist Fitz, who appear on the outside to be stereotypical characters that we have seen before, like the king, the prince, the good prince, the bad prince, the sorcerer kind of guy, the warrior, soldier, jaded kind of man. Many are almost archetypical or stereotypical looking characters from the outside, but what Robin Hobb excels at is providing a depth to those characters, and not just a depth, but a lot of warmth. I mean, if I had to describe this book in one single word, it would be warmth. There are some beautiful character interactions here. For me, the best parts of the book in terms of the story were the parts where characters would just have long, beautiful, quiet conversations with one another. I really, really loved those kinds of dynamics. So the writing, the characters, the dialogue. The magic system I think is interesting. It's not super fantastical. For a fantasy book, it's pretty toned down, it's pretty subtle. The magic in this book is more like a sort of telepathical, it's like a mental kind of magic, which I think is really great because sometimes when I have read some fantasy series or some fantasy books, I have felt that the magic becomes more important than anything else, more important than the writing or the characters or the plot itself, and it just loses my interest. For example, the Mistborn trilogy by Brandon Sanderson, which is one of the worst books that I have ever read, because it was all about this kind of video gamey kind of magic that was just silly, and there was no character work, no dialogue, and no interesting writing. This is the opposite of Brandon Sanderson and his atrocities. This is beautifully written, character-driven, warm, deep, slow, gorgeous kind of fantasy with not a lot of fantasy in it, but it's just the right amount. The reason why I chose to give this book 4 stars instead of 5 stars was because the ending, to my liking, was a little bit confusing. The way that there are some revelations and some twists and conspiracies and revelations, I just thought it was a little bit confusing, a little bit unclear and convoluted. That's just a personal thing, a personal issue. But other than that, I would really recommend this book. I am eagerly looking forward to the next book in the series, which is Royal Assassin, and then I want to continue on with Robin Hobb and see if I can read all of the series, which is like 16 books long or something. It's really long, but it's wonderful. I will also say that I think this kind of fantasy, this kind of book, is perfect for readers who have enjoyed Harry Potter, who have enjoyed historic materials, because I feel like there are enough parallels. And there's in terms of historic materials, something that I really loved about those books was the demons, the relationship between humans and their demons, that sort of intimate bond. And there's a lot of that in here as well, because Fitz, as a character, has a very strong sort of bond with animals. And so we get to see a little bit of that, which is similar to historic materials and the demons. And it's also very reminiscent, or I think it's a good companion for Harry Potter, because it's character driven, it's funny, it's very warm, it's very cozy. Some people say that Robin Hobb is slow and that her books are slowly paced, but I read this book very quickly. I thought the pacing was right. Yes, I would consider this more on the slower side because it's more about the characters and their interactions and their conversations and their internal thoughts. But I didn't find it boring at all. I was completely enthralled. So I gave this 4 stars. So that was the book that I finished. Now, the book that I am currently reading, I'm almost finished, is The Importance of Being Earnest by Oscar Wilde. This is his most famous and important play. I haven't read a lot of plays recently, in recent years, so this was a very refreshing experience for me. It's delightful. I love Oscar Wilde. I love his writing. I think his prose is absolutely beautiful. The Picture of Dorian Gray is probably my favorite classic ever so far, and this is just charming and hilarious. It's a comedy of manners. It's like a social comedy. It's hilarious. So that's what I'm reading today, and when I finish that, I am going to start reading Cold Comfort Farm by Stella Gibbons, which I just received in the mail. And this is part of the Penguin's Classic Deluxe editions, beautifully illustrated by New York Times illustrator Ross. What's her name? Oh, I really don't know. I think her name is. I don't know. Ross Chastain, is that it? I think it is. So this is a beautiful book. It's about this woman. You can see her on the cover, Flora Post, and she is sort of a cosmopolitan kind of London gal. And this is set in the 1920s or 30s, something like that, early 20th century. And she has to go away to from London town. She has to go away to her family's farm, and from what I gather, from what I've heard, this book is hilarious. It's a satire. It's a satire of pastoral novels, rural kind of novels that are set in the English countryside, very melancholy but sort of romanticized as well. And this is supposed to be one of the most cozy, warm, and charming, hilarious books. This book has been revered by many booktubers that I really follow and that I really value their opinions. So I'm really looking forward to this. It looks just wonderful. That's what I will be reading, and please let me know in the comments down below, what are you reading? If there is any book recommendation, I am here. Thanks for watching. I am Just One Reader, and I will see you on the next video.